Well, trade season is upon us. Four-time All-Star Trae Young traded to the Washington Wizards for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert, which I had been speculating for the last couple of days was going to happen. No picks involved in this trade. Finances are the reason behind the deal. Trae Young has a $49 million player option for next season. And the Atlanta Hawks, at the end of the day, were not going to extend him, so they moved on from him. And they bring in CJ McCollum on a $30 million expiring contract, along with Corey Kispert. CJ, they could re sign him for a lower number, or they could trade him again. For what it's worth, he can't be consolidated with other players if they do move on from him again. It's worth noting the Hawks have been linked to Anthony Davis in other trade rumors, but the Mavericks were not willing to take on Trae Young, as obviously they have Kyrie Irving, who's eventually going to come back from a torn ACL. So, and the Hawks management was not willing to pair Trae and Anthony Davis. It's just too expensive and ultimately probably ineffective because AD can't stay healthy, and Trae just hasn't really been effective. Just touching on Kispert real quick, I think he's actually a solid add in this deal, pretty underrated. He's under contract for 3 more years at $40 million total. He makes $14 million next season, then declines to $13 million the following 2 years after that. So his cap hit is going to be declining each year. He makes the same money as Zachary Risacher this year, but Risacher, because he's on a rookie deal, his cap hit is going to continue to rise. Because he was the number one overall pick, he actually makes a substantial amount of money. 13 million this year, 14 million next year, and then 17 million in the final year of that deal. And Risacher, at the end of the day, he's probably not a better player than Corey Kispert is today. So we'll see what happens. Risacher is one of those guys who has been tossed around in trade rumors, specifically for Anthony Davis. We'll see what happens there. But I think Kispert certainly is a little bit duplicative of what they already have on the roster, which makes me think that Risacher could be on the move as well, as they kind of do the same things. They're basically three-point shooters. Risacher, if anything, is actually maybe even a worse driver than Corey Kispert, and they also have Vit Krejci, who's pretty similar, but also on a great value contract. But that's the Hawks' perspective. Let's focus on the Trae Young angle. Trae Young averaging 19 points on the year, 9 assists, 1.5 rebounds, only 28 minutes per game, down from 36 minutes per game from last year. He's only played 10 games, has dealt with some injuries this season. Overall, on like a per minute basis, his production is basically the same as last year. So even though he's averaging only 19 points versus 24 last year, 9 assists versus 12 last year, that's commiserate with the he's playing 8 fewer minutes per game. Efficiency basically the same as last year overall. Small samples still, only 10 games, so he's only 31% from 3 this year. But at 20% on his twos, he's not a great finisher, but he does have pretty mean floater and mid-range game overall. He takes so many bad threes that it kind of draws down his percentage. Also, 86% from the line, but overall 58% true shooting on 29% usage is not terrible. I think it's a good trade for the Wizards. They essentially are taking a flyer on Trae Young as a low-level all-star. He made the all-star team last season, and even with other players like Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Halliburton, he's still a top 5 point guard in the Eastern Conference and could make the all-star team in any given year. And Alex Sarr, I think this is a great fit for him because he's tailor-made for Trae. He's a rim-protecting lob threat who can also space the floor a little bit as a shooter, which is what Trae needs. Trae needs shooters around him. to open things up. He needs space to operate, or else his driving game he's too small to be an effective driver. Otherwise, if he doesn't have a lot of space, Sar kind of profiles as like a younger version of like Kristaps Porzingis. Bilal Coulibaly also serves as another player who could benefit. He's more of an athletic slasher type who definitely could use Trae's lob threat ability. This ultimately locks in Bud Carrington as like the backup point guard, but it also gives him a good mentor to learn the position from. And Carrington has enough size that he can play next to Trae as well. Less high on like what this means for Trae Johnson, as he's probably never going to be a starter now. Not that I don't think he was ever really profiling towards that. He was always going to be kind of like a Buddy Hield type of like shooter, which he probably should be coming off the bench just for defensive reasons. Obviously, Trae Young, not known for his defense, and the Wizards are not a good defensive team either. But they also haven't gotten very much coaching on that end either. We'll see what happens with them. The players that now that they have an actual offensive engine, some of these guys might be able to focus a little more on the defensive end of the ball. So players like Sar, George, and Koulibaly could end up taking a leap there next season. And just touching in on what Trae Young meant to the Hawks, he's the best point guard in Hawks franchise history. He holds a number of their records. He was an All-Star last year, made it 4 times for them. He was All-NBA in 2022 on the heels of a surprise conference finals run in 2021. That success kind of ended up leading the Hawks management group to think that they were further along than what they really were. So a number of factors also led Trae to decline rather than improve since that time period, like changes to officiating, which prevented a lot of his foul grifting. So he essentially got smaller throughout the years, even though at age 27 he should be hitting a stride, but he's just not the same player that he was when he was 22 years old, just because of all what's transpired league wide, and also the metagame also shifted a little bit. Defense matters a lot more now. Teams are going with bigger point guards than ever before. So at the end of the day, Trae Young is part of the Bradley Beal return, that umbrella of trades, where they traded Bradley Beal for they salary dumped him essentially for Chris Paul to the Phoenix Suns. They got a bunch of second rounders back in that deal, and then they moved Chris Paul to the Warriors for Jordan Poole, and then they moved Jordan Poole to the Pelicans for CJ McCollum, and they've acquired a lot of draft capital in those moves over the years. They didn't require any picks in this deal, but I feel like Trae is probably a better fit for like the rest of the Wizards group, rather than like they've brought in Jordan Poole and CJ McCollum over the last couple of years. Those guys are just hired guns. They're scorers. They aren't looking to really make, even though CJ's a great veteran and a great leader in the locker room, he's not really making these guys better on the court with his play style. Trae, because he's a great passer, one of the best passers in the game, he's somebody who I think can elevate these guys and maybe take some of them to the next level. And he's young enough that, at 27, as long as he gets on a reasonable extension that makes him the starting point guard for the next couple of years, the next 4 to 5 years, he could totally be a Wizard, or they could end up rehabbing his value. And once he's on an appropriate number, they trade him for value later on, just like they've done with all these other guys that he's part of, that Beal cycle. The rub on Trae really has been that he's just not worth his contract, given his limitations. He makes 33% of the cap this season. He'll make 30% next year when he opts into his player option. For what it's worth, if he gets an extension, I'm not sure if he's extension eligible after this trade. I didn't read up on that yet, but if he is extension eligible, the extension would overwrite the player option. So the Wizards probably are incentivized to get an extension done, and the Hawks they were not willing to commit further, as they've kind of seen the writing on the wall. They felt like Young wasn't getting better. He was only getting worse each year. We'll see if Washington can turn that around, if it changes scenery, does Trae and the Wizards, does them well. Let's head back to the Hawks. CJ McCollum, he's averaging 9 points, 3.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, playing 31 minutes per game. 51% on twos, 39% from three, 80% from the free throw line, 57% true shooting on 24% usage overall. It's about the same production that he had last season. It's also very similar to the production of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who is 7 years younger and has started 29 games for the Hawks. Now, CJ hasn't come off the bench in 12 years. He has started probably something like 700 consecutive games or something like that. So I would pencil him in as the starter, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, given that he's been with the team, has more history with them so far, and he is the superior defensive player. I think some of the better without Trae stuff this year has been a little bit overblown. Like, yes, obviously they were 2-8 with Trae this year, but I mean, bringing in CJ McCollum to replace Trae Young, it's not like CJ's much better defensively at this stage of his career. The Wizards were 29th in defense this year. He played for the Pelicans last year. They were also 29th in defense. So he hasn't really been part of like a serious basketball team in a while. We'll see what happens now that he's back on like a playoff caliber team. But he is also a decidedly worse point guard than Trae Young. He's again more of a combo like scoring guard. And now that they moved on from Trae Young, they don't really have an actual point guard on the team. He is a better playmaker than Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but I wouldn't consider him. He's still below average for a guard. So the overlap with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think, is definitely real. CJ fit well next to Zion Williamson in New Orleans, so that's at least a good sign for pairing him with Jalen Johnson. But I'm not entirely convinced that he is going to be sticking long term with the team. They may not move him in a deal for Anthony Davis. They can't actually because he can't be consolidated. But they could end up moving him for like two role players or something like that. Given we'll see what happens if they are able to move guys like Porzingis, Risache, Kennard, etc., and then they need to refill out the team with some depth to make up for some of the guys that they moved out. We'll see what happens exactly. And then Corey Kispert, he's having a good year. He has been injury plagued this year, dealing with a hamstring injury right now. Was held out of the Wizards' last game due to a calf contusion, which may have been like a little playful nod to the Hawks holding Trae Young out for a quad contusion, which was probably a fake injury. But Kispert on the year, 9 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, playing 20 minutes per game. He's played 19 games, started 2 of them. 67% on twos this year, 40% from three, 77% from the line. 65 true shooting on 17% usage. It is his most productive season overall. Career low in minutes per game for him. He's typically been in the mid 20s in minutes, but again, he has dealt with injuries this year. Also has had a diminished role as the Wizards have focused on younger players. So he was kind of de-emphasized in Washington this year, even though he signed an extension that kicked in this year. So he kind of comes to Atlanta under similar circumstances. They have Zachary Risache, who's essentially been gifted the starting role there. And he's been locked in as a starter, so it looks like Kispert's going to be playing behind him. And obviously, they've got Vit Krejci, who's been playing really well in a similar role. However, it does seem like, given the duplicity of all these guys, that it probably Risache's time in Atlanta might be coming to an end. Just because there's so much overlap. Also worth noting that Luke Kennard is still on this team. Likewise, though, a player who might be on the move. But hey, I mean, the Hawks, they've got shooters now. They went from Trae shooting 31% from three to having a whole bunch more shooting on this team. So let's see, maybe Jalen Johnson's able to do something with all these shooters. Yeah, I really like this trade for both teams. We'll see what happens a little later. And now we have a 12 game slate for me to break down on essentially the NBA 2K rating recap. We're doing double duty here. For what it's worth, I'm recording this all at 7:30 in the morning as I wanted to fully break down the Trae trade and the 12 games. Not a ton of ratings updates for me. I did focus on. I updated the ratings for the three guys who were traded today just to get them all super current on their new teams. But let's start off in Toronto, where the Raptors they moved to 23-15 on the year with a 97-96 win over the Hornets. Manuel quickly hit the buzzer-beating game winner in this one. Game-winning three, 21 points for him. R.J. Barrett had 28. Colin Murray-Boyles got another start at center. Career high, 15 rebounds for him. Brandon Ingram unfortunately left this game in 11 minutes. He sprained his left thumb, or sorry, he sprained his thumb. He left with the thumb sprain. I can't read. It's 7:30 a.m. He is currently day to day, so I assume he'll probably miss the next game. I'll deactivate him once it's announced, though. Hornets, they dropped to 13-24. LaMelo, 15, 7-7, but only 7 of 20 from the field. He did hit the go-ahead layup with 1.6 seconds left, but that allowed Toronto enough time to call timeout and then for Emmanuel quickly to win it with a three at the buzzer on essentially a catch and shoot. Sexton led the team with 22 points. Concondable rare off night for him, 11 points on 4 of 17 from the field. Detroit, they moved to 28-9 on the year with a 108-93 win over the Bulls. Cade Cunningham was out for this one, so Beef Stew stepped up, had a career high 31 points on 14 of 17 from the field. Now, before we get too ahead over our skis, I've been saying it all year. Centers have been eating Nikola Vucevic for breakfast all year. So this was no exception. Don't read a ton into it. Jaden Ivey, he got the start with Cade sidelined. Had 8 points, 4 assists in 20 minutes, but Dennis Jenkins essentially stole the show. 2 points, career high 15 assists, 28 minutes off the bench. Certainly connected with Stu on a lot of those. So, yeah, Pistons depth continues to produce for them. They were missing 3 starters in this one. Karis LeVert was also active for this one. Chicago, they dropped to 17-20 on the year. Vooch, he had 20-16, but obviously didn't play a lick of defense. Probably in his last month with the Bulls, with the deadline around the corner, and as a starting center, if there is a god. Matas Buzelis, 20 points and 4 blocks. I would assume he led them in scoring with 24. Trae Jones had 12 assists. Kobe White was out. As it was a back-to-back, he wasn't particularly effective in their last game either, as he's coming off a calf injury. 76ers, they moved to 20-15 with a 131-110 win over the Washington Wizards. Joel Embiid was efficient, 28 points, 10 of 14 from the field in 25 minutes. Paul George, 23 points, 7 of 11 from the field. Tyrese Maxey, 22 on 9 of 15 from the field. VJ stuffed the stat sheet, 13, 7, and 6 with 5 steals. Trendon Watford and Kelly Oubre both made their returns. Oubre, 2 points in 20 minutes off the bench. Looks like he will be playing behind Paul George, as they definitely need a power, like an actual power forward, i.e. Dom Barlow, to start next to Embiid. Could end up being Trendon Watford. We'll see, but he only played 5 minutes in this game. So actually, let's drop his intangibles maybe down to 60, and maybe let's actually max out Barlow just to ensure that he starts over Watford in the Sixers rotation. But yeah, only 5 minutes for Watford in this one. We'll see what happens if he ends up carving out more playing time as he gets out of as he reacclimates. Sixers, if you'll notice, are fully healthy for what might be the first time this decade. don't know if you hear that. That's me knocking on wood for them. Washington, they dropped to 10-26. CJ and Kispert were held out due to illness in this game, or in Kispert's case, the calf contusion. Um, the vibes with the team likely were that they were being traded, so Wizards may not have been the most focused team in this game. Bob Carrington, he got the start with CJ sidelined. He had 18 points. Trae Johnson led the way with 20 points. Koulibaly also adding 18. Denver Nuggets, a huge game for them. Got the win over the Boston Celtics. They moved to 25-12 on the year, 114-100. Jamal Murray making his case for the All-Star team. He's going to make it, no doubt. 22 points, career high, 17 assists, solidifying his All-Star status overall. I've got him up to a 91 overall, +1. Peyton Watson, 30 points for him, 2 off of his career high, 10 of 15 from the field, 6 of 7 from 3. The Celtics they are very undersized at the 4, so this was a good matchup for him. But overall, David Adelman he's doing a hell of a coaching job this year for the Nuggets to be still competitive, and they're 500 with since Jokic went down 2-2. Gordon and Brown were both active for this one, as was Tim Hardaway Jr. All 4 of those guys, along with Murray, were inactive for the last one, but that didn't stop them from winning that game either. So look out for Denver. You still got to take them seriously on any given night. Boston, they dropped to 23-13. Jaylen Brown, rough shooting night for him again. 33 points, but on 14 of 29 from the field. Neemias Queta, career high, 20 rebounds. 10 of them offensive, absolutely mauled the Nuggets front line, as they are obviously a little short-handed in the front court with Jokic sidelined. It's Deron Holmes and Zeke Naji up there. Peyton Pritchard and Derek White, 17 points each. So, I mean, they essentially are the same player, right? 4 of 18 from 3 combined. When they shoot well, the Celtics win. When they don't, they kind of struggle to. Atlanta Hawks, they also played tonight, 18-21. They moved to 117-100 over the Pels. Final verdict for them, 16-13 without Trae Young, 2-8 with him. Trae missed his 6th game of the year with this quad contusion. Quad contusion may have been a fake injury this whole time. We'll find out if he's active for their first game with Washington. Zachary Risache, he had a season high 25 points with 7 of 9 from 3. So he's got Kispert coming in. He's going to be looking over his shoulder, but 7 of 9 probably means we can boost his 3-point rating up a point or 2 once I get a chance to reevaluate. What a mammoth week for this week in the NBA in terms of that. Okongwu he was out for this one, so Moget got the start at the 5, 11 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists with 4 steals and 2 blocks, stuffing the sheet. And Porzingis, 13 points in 22 minutes off the bench. I have been slowly but surely decreasing his overall rating as he's been de-emphasized, looking more like he's going to be a reserve the rest of the year as he is going to be in and out of the lineup due to illness. And then Jalen Johnson added in his customary 19-8-5, which for him is actually a down game. The Pels, they dropped to 8-31, lost their 9th game in a row. Trey Murphy was out after his career night. Herb Jones also out. So Jordan Poole moved back into the starting lineup, hit 21. Zion Williamson starting at small forward again. He had 22. Bryce McGowan's had 20 off the bench. Orlando, they moved to 21-17 with a 104-103 win over the Nets in overtime. Paolo Banchero leading the way with 30, 14, and 6. Wendell Carter, bounce back game for him, 20 points. He was 1 for 6 in the last game. Anthony Black struggled again, only 5 points on 2 of 11 shooting, back-to-back subpar outings for him. So I did knock him up to an 82, but these last few performances might knock him back down a point or 2 again. Brooklyn Nets, they moved to they dropped to 11-23. Michael Porter Jr., 34 points for him. Yegor Doman, 18, 5 and 5, was 5 of 8 from 3. He's been coming on after a slow start to the season. Probably could knock him up to like a 78-ish overall. New York Knicks, they knock off the cobwebs, get out of their slump with a shoot. Didn't write down the score. 123 to 111 win over the Clippers, moving to 24-13 on the year. They went small in this one. With Miles McBride as the starter. 16 points for him. Cat back at the 5, 20, 11, and 7 after a subpar performance in the last one. Brunson, 26 points, 7 assists. OG, 20 points, 8 of 10 from the field. Bridges with 15. Mitchell Robinson, 4 points, 9 rebounds, 25 minutes off the bench. He did have 5 offensive rebounds, which is his primary value to the team. Also, 2 blocks. So it looks like he's off of his minutes limit. He has been playing mid-20s again. But yeah, I think he just makes more sense off the bench than he does in the starting unit right now. Clippers, they dropped to 13 and 23, but they had a solid overall game. Harden back in the lineup after a one-game absence, 23 points, 9 assists. Kawhi had 25. Zoo, he's been really good since returning from injury. 22 points, 11 rebounds, 11 of 14 from the field. John Collins also has been coming on the last few weeks. 18 points, 10 rebounds for him. Phoenix Suns, they moved to 22 and 15 with a 117-98 win over the Grizzlies. Dylan Brooks getting some revenge against his former team. He led the way with 21 points. Grayson Allen also adding 19 points off the bench. Second consecutive game off the bench for him, so it looks like that is going to be his new role moving forward. Memphis, they dropped to 16 and 21. Jaren Jackson Jr., 19 points. But again, they are pretty banged up. This time, Cedric Howard and John Morant, but there's no starting backcourt. So Jalen Wells starting at the 2. G.G. Jackson is starting at the 3. Jackson, 11 points, 5 turnovers, 25 minutes, so he hasn't really gotten the chance to take a step forward. Vince Williams also has missed the last couple games, unfortunately. Actually, I think he played in the last one, but he missed this one, so I will just deactivate him real quick. Jock Landale, for what it's worth, was scoreless in this one after having a solid one in the last one. He played 21 minutes here. Oklahoma City, they moved to 31 and 7, 129 to 125 in overtime over the Utah Jazz. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 46 points, 14 of 26 from the field, 17 of 19 from the line. Bounce back game for him after 2 subpar outings. Chet Holmgren, likewise a bounce back, 23 points, 12 rebounds. And Jalen Williams, 17 points, 8 assists. Solid outings overall, although the Jazz aren't the greatest defensive team in the world. They dropped 12 and 24 on the season. Tank. Lauri Markkanen, 29 and 13. Keontae George, 25 points, 11 assists. Yusuf Nurkic, 15 points, 15 rebounds. Ace Bailey made his return but came off the bench, 2 points in 10 minutes. Going over to the Spurs, they moved to 26 and 11 on the year, getting a big win over the LA Lakers. Wemby came off the bench again, 16 and 14 with 2 steals and 4 blocks. Keldon Johnson also with a big game off the bench, 27 points, 11 of 13 from the field in 28 minutes. So that second unit just murked the Lakers. Lakers, they don't really have much in the way of scoring, even in their starting unit. Luka had 38, 10 and 10 triple-double, but didn't get any help in this one. No LeBron because it was a back-to-back. He's pretty much going to be questionable for any back-to-back this year. He is 41 years old. LeBron, for what it's worth, if he misses another game, he's not going to be awards eligible, which is a bigger, that's more of like a like clickbait. Because at the end of the day, for what he's doing on the court, he wasn't going to be awards eligible anyway. He wasn't going to be going for an All-NBA team. So that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme. It's just, click it today. Click the article today, and then again when he's no longer eligible because he sits out another back-to-back or whatever. Gabe Vincent, 6 points, 18 minutes. He made his return to action after being out for 2 or 3 weeks or so. Golden State, they moved to 20 and 18 on the year with a 120 to 113 win over the Bucks. Curry 31 points, Jimmy Butler 21, and they actually had a third scorer in this game. DeAnthony Melton, who I guess I should reactivate. He's been in and out of the lineup, obviously coming off of a torn ACL. He had a season high 22 points off the bench in 25 minutes. 5 of 9 from 3 for Anthony Melton. Milwaukee, they dropped to 16 and 21. Giannis with 34 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, but not struggling to get offense from the rest of his squad. KPJ had 15 points, 9 assists, played 40 minutes. They're doing what they can with what they've got, with isn't much. And then Portland, they get a huge win over the Rockets. They moved to 18 and 20 on the year, 103 to 102. Denny Avdia with a season high 41 points, 2 off of his career high. He is in a dogfight with Jalen Johnson for most improved player. I would give the edge to him, to be quite honest. Rockets, and I guess I should notate the reason why is because Denny is doing it at point guard. He's playing a whole other position for the Blazers this year, as they've dealt with so many injuries to everybody else on the team. It's even more impressive than what Johnson has done this year, in my estimation. Houston, and they also play in a tougher conference with, and they have a similar record. So there you go. Rockets, they dropped to 22 and 12. KD had 37 in this one. Amen, 24, 12, and 6. Tari Eason doubled with 15 points and 13 rebounds as a 2-guard. Rockets, though, they're going to be tested with Alperen Şengün out. Jabari Smith Jr., second consecutive game, he has not been able to fill the void. He had 6 points on 2 of 13 shooting. Hope you guys really enjoyed this massive breakdown of the Trae Young trade and the 12 games that were played in the NBA tonight. I gotta end this video now, go to bed. Also, the NBA 2K should be releasing a roster update, so all the ratings are going to be updated today. So that's even more for us to crunch. What a grind roster editing is, but I love every minute of it. Well, most minutes of it. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass, but yeah, I really like. I love this, and I love this outlet. And I love that you guys have been sticking with me this entire year. Thank you so much. I will see you guys later tonight. Peace.